It was early spring when the HOA attempted one of their boldest moves yet, claiming ownership of my land and demanding rent for its use. The notice arrived via email and certified mail, filled with intimidating language, fines, and threats of legal action. HOA Karen, as always, had orchestrated the effort, confident that her self-assumed authority would compel compliance. She had no idea, however, that her bluff was about to be called in the most definitive way. I read through the notice calmly, noting the baseless claims and the myriad errors in their supposed documentation. Karen had cited regulations that didn't exist, claimed authority over areas beyond the HOA's jurisdiction, and demanded payment for land that had been legally transferred to me decades earlier. Instead of reacting emotionally, I prepared my response meticulously. Property deeds, tax records, historical documentation, and prior legal filings that demonstrated unequivocally that the land was mine. When I confronted Karen in person, she attempted her usual theatrics, waving papers, shouting about rules, and insisting on compliance. I calmly presented the evidence, explaining that her claim was invalid, unlawful, and unenforceable. Her face twisted between frustration and disbelief. She had assumed that fear and volume could override law and documentation, but she had not accounted for preparation and factual authority. Karen's next move was to threaten legal action. She insisted that she could force me to pay rent or face immediate eviction. I allowed her to escalate, documenting every word and interaction, knowing that her threats would soon unravel under scrutiny. With each statement, it became more obvious to observers, and eventually to Karen herself, that she was overreaching, relying entirely on assumption rather than reality. Within hours, I had involved local authorities and legal counsel, presenting my evidence in a clear, organized manner. The HOA's claims were reviewed and dismissed almost immediately. Karen's threats held no weight. The documentation was indisputable. Her plan to intimidate and extract rent from me backfired spectacularly. Neighbors and community members, who had witnessed her overreach and aggression before, watched as she struggled to maintain composure. The pattern was clear. Karen's authority was entirely self-imposed, and when confronted with facts, preparation, and lawful standing, her influence evaporated instantly. By evening, the property remained securely in my ownership, the land untouched, and Karen's threats neutralized. The experience was both a personal victory and a public lesson. Arrogance, entitlement, and imagined authority cannot succeed against preparation, documentation, and calm, assertive action. Reflecting on the incident, I realized how predictable her failure was. Karen had relied on fear, intimidation, and paperwork that had no legal standing. She had underestimated the power of knowledge, evidence, and lawful authority. The HOA's attempt to claim rent had not only failed but had further damaged her credibility in the community. By nightfall, my land was peaceful. The HOA's claims rendered meaningless, and Karen left humiliated. The event served as a clear reminder that preparation, legal authority, and calm strategy always triumph over arrogance and self-appointed power. Her attempt to assert control had turned into a public display of overreach and failure, reinforcing the lesson that entitlement has no power against truth.